What genre is Epic War? If you don't immediately know the answer to that question, it's okay, because for Epic War 1 and 2, it doesn't really make much sense. The Epic War games are strategy games. However, there isn't much in the way of strategy for the first two games, since most of your issues can be resolved with the crossbow or spamming the same units over and over again. Epic War 2 is symbolic for uncertainty. Imagine a compass spinning around rapidly as it tries to figure out what direction it's supposed to face. You might find yourself relating to that idea of being without direction or confidence. Epic War 2 is directionless. Many times, when we lack direction and confidence, we try to mimic the things that inspire us. For example, when I first made this YouTube channel, I only uploaded a single game called Town of Salem. I basically made the exact same videos as the other YouTubers who inspired me. Epic War 2 can be said to do something similar, doing what other strategy games like it were doing at the time. But, at some point, the compass will find due north. Direction comes from struggle. Confidence comes from failure. The struggles and failures of Epic War 2 paved the way for Blank Media Games to create the perfect sequel. Upon probably too much thought, Epic War 3 is an obvious evolution of Epic War 2. To figure out why, let's look back at the biggest flaws with Epic War 2. You'll find that the biggest issues are the game's slow pacing, the overpowered crossbow, the outdated yet somewhat charming art, and a lack of strategic control you have over the units you summon. Epic War 3 fixes all of this. This is by far the fastest game in the franchise. The crossbow has been removed entirely, the art looks bright, clean, crisp, and modern, and most importantly, you now have the ability to control your units. This is the perfect sequel, right? Well, at one point in time, I said that of the 5 main games, Epic War 3 was the worst game of the franchise, other than Epic War 1. How could that be? Was I disillusioned? Let's talk about that. This is the Epic War 3 review. I'll begin by answering the question. I was mostly disillusioned, but for reasons that are justified. The reason is because Epic War 3 is a fundamentally flawed game, because the intended way to play it is the worst way to play it. I'm going to make this video under the impression everyone watching this has played the game, but if you haven't, there's a link to the Discord in the description below for you to go enjoy it. The intended way to play Epic War 3 is to beat the main games with all 6 heroes, unlocking you all of the normal units and spells, and then using everything you have earned to enter the formidable Cave of Trials, where your skill and grit is truly put to the test. It seems like a pretty legit gameplay style when you read it off the script like I am, but a sort of obvious part of all of this is that the Cave of Trials actually has to live up to the expectations set before it. Now, imagine fighting the final boss after hours of preparation only for it to be a big joke. And not even a funny joke, but a slap to the face kind of joke. That's what Epic War 3 did, as the final boss is a shadow goblin that one-shots everything, including your most powerful units that you spent hours leveling up. It's so anticlimactic, but even worse, it's an insult to the effort and dedication that I had put into the game thus far. As far as I'm aware, this is the only time that an Epic War game genuinely left me feeling insulted, and this is the reason I held the game in such poor regards for so long. So let's fix the problem. This is a video being made in preparation for Lasgone's remaster of the game, so I'll make it such that every complaint I make will be met with suggestions and ideas. So, let's fix this insulting final boss. Well, I'll say this. The Shadow Goblin could be a cool unit for the caves, just not on level 5. If you put his level on cave 1 or 2, it would absolutely terrify the player. It's an oddball. It's an oddity. It's proof that these caves will not only be difficult, but deceitful as well. Rather than leaving the player feeling dissatisfied, it would instead intrigue them even more as to what lies at the end. Cave 5 should be Lord of Shadows, hands down. He's the strongest unit in the game and would make for an amazing final boss showdown. I also feel like if the Shadow Goblin is going to be a challenge unit in the caves, at least one other level should have a challenge unit too. Be it a beefed up hero, or a crazed titan that moves at hyper speeds. I'll leave it to Lazlin and his team to figure out that finer detail. You know, if he takes any of my suggestions into consideration. Okay, so now we fundamentally fixed the game. Now, the intended way to play it is now the best way to play it. So now, God, I'm saying now a lot. Now I can talk more about trivial, just kidding. Trivial stuff. The fundamental issues in this game is actually the least of its problems.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change.
Epic War 3 is insane. There are 6 heroes, and they are all the same. Actually, I take that back. There is Vigriff, and then 5 other heroes that are all exactly the same. Trying to level all of them up is just doing the same thing over and over and over again. Play the whole map with your first hero. Farm the last level over and over to get gold for level 5 spells. Then play half the map with the other 5 heroes until they get to level 10, and you unlock their unique units and spell. It is boring. It is dreadful. There's nothing unique about the experience except that you get a couple new units and a spell. And if you did it with Vigriff already, then tough turds, because Vigriff gives units and spells so powerful it seriously undermines all the other ones. First, let's talk about why Vigriff is hands down the best hero in the game. Allow me to introduce you to the fabled shitstorm, Succubi. Yeah, this unit is overpowered, and the reason is because this game has horrible gravity settings, and even large units will just get ragdolled by Succubus. The only units that are safe are Titans and Epic Tank, because they ignore crowd control. The only way the enemy has any realistic chance to beat Succubus and Epic Tank, which I don't even know exactly when you unlock Epic Tank, but I think you get it for completing a certain part of the map, because Vigriff can get it. Anyway, these 2 units just crush everything, except 4 Revenge Waves stacked on top of each other. Epic Tank and Succubus will hard carry to the last level where the first Titan gets introduced. There isn't a good immunity time for units after getting launched. They land and they just get lobbed right back into the stars. Succubus and Epic Tank combo is like tossing a salad or flinging rice in a wok. If you pick Vigriff first, you will clean sweep the game much more than the other 5 heroes, which is bullshit and unbalanced. But I struggle to complain because, damn, I really do like seeing Succubus obliterate everything. They just didn't make her like that in 4, 5, and Saga. Okay, so how do we fix this? How do we make every hero matter? How do we stop the insanity of doing the same thing over and over again? Well, okay. Alright, I'm about to toss a bunch of suggestions around, and you might like some of them, and you might dislike others, but I want to put a disclaimer here that I am always objectively correct. So if you have any issues with what I'm saying, fix yourself. The first way to make the heroes unique is to take advantage of the game's turn system. As you know, there's an enemy's turn, where they all attack you or each other, and then there's your turn, where you can attack an enemy. This is an extremely interesting mechanic that is definitely taken for granted and not used to its fullest potential. So, the first thing I'll fix is I will break up the 6 heroes into groups of 2. Vigriff and Grolberg, Gald and Abe, and Rembrandt and Trevor. Every duo will be given a special quality that will influence them in-game. First, Vigriff and Grolberg are now aggressors. Their combat strategy is to attack fast and blitz hard. They can attack twice per turn, yes, twice! And, because of the aggressor bonus, so long as the enemy hero is alive, all units will deal 5% additional damage for every castle that hero has. The hero has 5 castles? Well, congrats, their units are dishing out a whopping 25% increased damage. However, the big downside is that because Vigriff and Grolberg are so aggressive, they're vulnerable to attacks on their home turf. When defending, these heroes will have the element of arrogance, meaning their units are weaker, and cooldowns for spells and respawns will take longer. Meanwhile, Gald and Abe are introverts, and they value their personal space. And they also value their kingdom space on the map. These 2 are now defenders. Each turn, they can choose one of their castles to fortify. If you want to attack a fortified castle, you'll hate your life, as the enemy units will have double health and massive buffed attack. Not only that, but the castle health will be much higher and it will heal over time. Good luck beating them! For each additional castle they own, their own castle will increase in HP by 10%, and while defending, their units will have an additional 5% more health. If these heroes are attacked and they successfully defend from the attack, they will have the element of momentum. During, and only during, the next turn, if these heroes choose to attack the hero that they successfully defended from, their units will have quicker cooldowns and will move faster. Damn, that would suck dealing with the only castle you can access from Abe being fortified. Man, if only there was a way to attack a castle that you aren't adjacent to. Well, say hello to Rebrant and Trevor, who are now Strategists. Strategists are the oddballs and offer up a lot of spice in the game. They can invade whatever castle they want, wherever it is, regardless of everything. If they are invading a castle that isn't next to any of their own castles, then they will have the element of surprise, which means all of their units will have quicker cooldowns and will move faster. Using their cunning nature and manipulative tendencies, these heroes will cause many of the units in other kingdoms to defect. Every time an enemy unit spawns, there is a 5% chance that that exact same unit will spawn for these two heroes, with an additional 1% chance increase for every castle they own. If it's a unit that they don't normally have any control over, then those units will follow the hero unit wherever he goes. So, imagine being Viagriff, being aggressive as hell and conquering the lands, and Trevor, the man who killed your father, swoops in from behind and snags one of your castles. Or imagine being Trevor and being faced by Abe's ridiculous fortified castle, only to slip around and attack the unprepared one behind it. Imagine being Abe, defending flawlessly against an enemy and using that momentum to crush through their cities. Tell me this doesn't at least sound kinda cool. I also think it's a really worthy endeavor to pay someone to recreate the Epic War 3 map. I'm thinking we keep it exactly the same, but we make it way bigger and add a lot more details. Oh, and also, make the water look like water, please. You'll be zoomed in on the map and you can pan around by clicking and dragging with the mouse. This makes the conquest feel more like an experience and less like whatever the hell it currently is. Especially if you add dialogue interactions and lore between all the beefing heroes, I feel like Epic War 3 could be extremely immersive, as well as genuinely fun to play on replay, as you could receive different tidbits of story, and of course the journey to completing the game would be totally unique. Alright, so let's recap. We've successfully given the game purpose by changing the Cave of Trials. We've taken the insanity out of the gameplay by making it feel way less repetitive. What else is there to talk about? Oh yeah, units and spells. The units in Epic War 3 are fine for the most part. I think the variety is quite nice, but the usability of many of them is heavily limited. Limited by what, you might ask? Well, this game has the dumbest mana system ever. You have a limit to the amount of stuff you can use. Units and spells cost mana, and you have a limit to the amount of mana. This is why the Centaur Archer is objectively the best unit in the game, because she's extremely useful and only costs 150 mana, as opposed to the OP Succubus, who cost almost twice as much at 290. Certain spells literally cost 500 plus mana, and the hero with the highest mana cap, Viagriff of course, only caps out at 3200. This is the type of restriction that I really dislike because it limits how we play the game for seemingly no reason. It's not intuitive and it doesn't make sense. So, let's fix the mana system. Now, only spells cost mana, and units don't. This is because spells would otherwise be game-breaking if you could use all the really good ones together. Now, units won't cost mana to equip, meaning you can make any composition your heart dreams of. However, the caveat is that from levels 1 to 4, you can only use 2 of your 6 unit slots. At level 5 you unlock the 3rd slot, at level 10 the 4th, 20 you get the 5th, and at max level 30 you unlock the last unit slot. This is a restriction that makes sense. Of course at a lower level your hero is a lot less experienced and therefore he's unable to command large amounts of units at a time. With time, however, your unit levels up and becomes a better leader, allowing them to command more and more units. For New Game Plus, you can use any of the units you've unlocked before freely, but only with 2 unit slots. This is marginally less annoying than having all the units you want, but not being able to use most of them because they cost too much mana. Okay, so we fixed the mana system, so now it's fair to fix some of the units and spells. And surprisingly, I think the unit balancing is pretty good in Epic War 3, with some exceptions. Healing and Lightning Crystals are terrible because they're slow. Make them move faster, and give Lightning Crystal a neat ability that any unit that gets shocked by it will also shock other units that are nearby it, potentially causing a chain reaction that hits dozens of units. Heal Crystal will stop to heal the moment an injured unit appears next to it, which, coupled with how slow it moves, makes it really hard to get the Heal Crystal to stand where you want it to stand. To fix this, make it to where the crystal will always move to wherever you tell it to stand and will only start healing once it gets there. And also make it heal for more, please? Succubus and Epic Tanks should be nerfed simply by changing how the units are launched and recovered. Bombers do more damage, and you get more of them, and they'll spawn faster. These are all really small fixes, really. I've always loved how the spells synergize with each other, like how you can use the Strength spell on the Phoenix to make it deal OP damage. Please keep this in the game, and possibly even expand on it more. Oh, and also, here's some other small issues that weren't being addressed. There should definitely be an option to disable Blood and Gore. Units will not move any further to the right of where you click for them to stand. Any unit that spawns should instantly begin charging if the call to full assault has been given. Health bars should just move from right to left instead of from left and right to the center. This isn't fucking Skyrim, and the way it currently is makes it intentionally difficult to tell if a unit is halfway or only a quarter of the way dead. And that's about it. We've given the game a logical direction, we've made it less repetitious, and we've made the mana system more logical. You might notice this review video is a lot different than the last two in terms of structure. And Lasman gave the reason why pretty well. He said that most of the things I didn't like were common issues that most people dealt with, and most of what I said in the Epic War 2 review was stuff that everyone already knew. For this video, I wanted the focus of it to point out the biggest shortcomings of the game and to highlight potential changes that could be made. All in all, I think Epic War 3 is the best game in the franchise, but only because of the other games doing stupid stuff that lowers their playability. Epic War 1 is boring, Epic War 2 is slow, Epic War 4 has OP spells, 5 is too easy, and Saga is ugh! For Epic War 3, the balancing currently gets an 8 out of 10, the gameplay gets a 1 out of 10, and the aesthetics, the music, the art style, and the lore, get a 7 out of 10. There's no reason why lore wasn't included in this game, come on. With all of these suggestions I've made, I would feel comfortable giving all 3 of these sections a 10 out of 10. And remember, my opinion is objectively correct, so if you disagree, fix yourself. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.